Thank you, President Colin. Just a few things for my update this evening. One, we continue our work on our back to school plan. We're making great progress in all three areas, and I'll talk about them briefly. One is Bloomfield Virtual. Thank you to all the parents that I know you're incredibly anxious, but you're emailing me asking me, when are we going to get more details? When can we see a sample schedule? When are we going to have more information? Please know that that work is continuing, and at the absolute latest, we'll have it out August 10th. But as we release new information, it will go on the blueprint page. So make sure you keep checking back there. The next one is distance learning or remote learning. What happens if we return to phase 1 through 3? We should have those sample schedules shortly as well. And then face-to-face. For me, as a parent of a rising senior, I think this week the reality is finally set in for me when I spoke to my daughter about what school may look like. To be honest, I think I've been maybe a little bit in denial from the parent perspective. School's not going to be normal by any stretch of the imagination for anyone, not just in the United States, but in the world this upcoming year. I think it's important we all take a step back and focus on a couple things. One, and I'm going to share two things that were shared with me by someone that I consider a friend. And she shared with me safe practice followed by best practice. That some of the best practice things we've done as a district may have to be shifted so we can focus on safe practice first because there's a lot at stake. And she also shared with me a perspective on core instruction. In the time of COVID, we need to offer core instruction in the safest way possible. And she said, is it ideal? No. Is it safe? Yes. And so that's going to be a lot of the focus on our back to school presentation. And we do have additional new information where we looked at it, safe practice followed by best practice. And then what should core instruction look like in the time of COVID? Well, it needs to be the safest way possible. And again, is it ideal? No. Is it what I would want as a parent? No. But is it safer? Absolutely. And that has guided a lot of our decisions. I also had the honor and the privilege and the pleasure of speaking with 289 Bloomfield Hills Education Association teachers in the school district to discuss our back to school plan. Immediately after that meeting, they emailed quite a few of us all kinds of great ideas. Like, I'll share a simple one, like just a great one that came out that Cindy Zervo said right after. If the students are using the media center, we know that's a concern. We want to make sure they get books. So her simple idea was, we know they need to be quarantined, the books, for 4 days. So what if we had 5 totes at each elementary building and you section off the books for each day? And then once you use those books on the Monday, you put the top on, then you didn't open them for another, 7 days, and they were quarantined. Just simple things like that. So thank you to all the teachers that shared not just their concerns, but ideas to how to make sure we open up better. And then the feedback from the teachers was, we would like to continue to meet and be able to share and have our voice heard. So we've scheduled meetings every other week for any teacher in the district interested to come and share their ideas. As President Colin said, working with Oakland Schools, they're going to provide us with 2 nurses. And those 2 nurses are going to be with us from August to December. However, our new Director of Health and Wellness will be with us for the full year. He's coming from IHA in Ann Arbor. Before that, he was at Trinity Health. He's a practice manager in family medicine and internal medicine. He has been dealing with COVID and COVID protocols and supervising 20 to 30 people in regards to that. So very fortunate to be able to move forward with that. And then lastly, a special thanks to the Fox Hills Homeowners Association. They invited me out last night just to kind of like a meet and greet. We talked about the bond. We talked about back to school. We talked about, I learned the creation of Fox Hills from Pulte Homes, how it was developed, how where the pool house was in a different place and how that was added. We talked about our kids. We shared stories. So I really wanted to say thank you to that group for inviting me out and for we had a great turnout, and everyone for showing up, just kind of welcome me to the district and let me learn more about the community. And that's it. Thanks, President Colin.
Thanks, Pat. Lisa, consent agenda?
Okay. I move that the Board of Education approve the recommendations detailed in the consent agenda as follows. Request to approve minutes from a regular meeting of June 25th. Request to approve minutes from a study session of July 9th. Request to approve disbursement reports. Request to approve HR actions. Request to approve legal counsel, and those last three are attached. And that's it for the consent agenda.
Thanks.
Second.
Okay. Howard? Well, you second.
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Consent passes. Okay. General discussion. Return to school update. Pat?
All right. Thank you, President Colin. Let me pull that up real quick. Can everyone see it okay?
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Barron. So kind of picking up a little bit where we left off, there'll be some information that is kind of review for those people watching the first time, and then some additional new information as well. So as you know, we launched our Bloomfield Blueprint page with the expectation from our parents that they wanted one place to go and get all the information so that they kind of knew what was going on. And so we've already made a couple updates to that as well. We'll continue to do so moving forward. So we know the Michigan Safe Start phases. Again, this is a repeat of information before, but for anyone that's kind of unsure or just kind of getting involved right now, if we are in phase 1 through 3, that means Governor Whitmer has decided that the COVID rates are too high and then we must go with distance learning, which means every public, private, and charter school will be shut at that time. Currently, we are in phase 4 and 5, and we know that currently in those phases, in which we are phase number 4, in-person teaching and learning is possible, and that's what we're planning for. We also have talked about learning at home and what the expectations are. Again, we've heard from parents that more live, direct, synchronous instruction, attendance to be taken, access to materials and progress and grades, a revised daily schedule, and it kind of goes on. And this is something we've talked about before. So in preparation, and again, feedback from the community, we knew that we needed to shrink the different platforms we're using and have consistency across our grade levels. So in grades K through 8, Google Classroom will be the platform. And then in grades 9 through 12 will be Canvas. Canvas is definitely the gold standard. For those of you that have students that are in 9th through 12th grade when they go on to college, Canvas is used by the majority of the university as well. We've also provided staff development. So our K through 8 staff have been trained fully in Google Classroom, and our 9 through 12 staff have been trained fully in how to use Canvas. Bloomfield Virtual. This is going to be a really, really important decision. No different than the important decision if you're coming back face to face. A couple things to keep in mind. If you have a K through 5 student, they will need a little bit of coaching at home. They will need, whether it's a parent, guardian, older sibling, someone that's going to be able to help them and facilitate the instruction support they receive from Bloomfield Hills Schools teachers. Now, one of the emails I'm still getting, and this is a very important fact to point out, a lot of people want to know if the remote learning we had before, which is basically crisis learning, and everyone did the best they could and did a great job under the circumstances, if that's what we're going to have coming up for this year for virtual, or if we go remote. No, it's not going to look the same whatsoever. We've had the summer to prepare. We've been able to look and match best practices, not just in the state of Michigan, but nationally, internationally. So it is a completely different program. So with Bloomfield Virtual, the expectations will mirror our in-person teaching and learning. As far as devices, we will provide an iPad for K for 1. And if you have a student that is 2nd grade through 12th grade, they will get a Chromebook. Students enrolled in Bloomfield Virtual will still have access to participate in extracurricular activities. So keep that in mind. That's, again, some of the emails I'm getting. If you decide that Bloomfield Virtual is right for you and your child wants to participate in robotics or play on a sports team or join a club at the school, they are more than welcome to still be part of those activities. Some terminology: in person is coming into the building, learning. So our goal is each day we hope to see those that want to be in person to learn. Distance or remote, you'll hear that term often. That's if the governor requires schools to be closed. And we'll use a distance learning model, all online for all students until the governor reopens school. So virtual or Bloomfield Virtual, which we're going to offer. Families may select Bloomfield Virtual if they desire for their child to learn all online, or most of the time, regardless of the operating status of the school district. A couple things about virtual that I want to point out. One is going to be learner-centered, and it's also going to be taught by all Bloomfield Hills School District employees. Another important thing I want to point out is we have teachers that are currently writing the curriculum. So it is going to meet all of our standards. So it is going to mirror what they would get in the classroom. We had to make a decision as a school district when this work began, whether or not to buy, whether it's Edgenuity or VLAC, or go with a third-party vendor that would provide every single module with the teacher just checking in, or kind of create it from scratch. The decision was to create it from scratch, knowing that is A, is best for our students, and B, that would be the expectation that if you decide that your child is going to do virtual, they will get the same instructional opportunity that students in the building would get. We also want to make sure we create a sense of belonging. So we know relationships are critical both in the classroom and in the community. We know how important play-based learning is. So within those cohorts of virtual, we're going to work for opportunities to make sure that students can visit the farm or the nature center. We know what gems those are in the district and want to create those opportunities, not just for students in the classroom, but students that are going to be virtually with us as well. And then going back to the portrait of a learner, we really haven't spent a lot of time, if you watch a lot of board meetings, talking about that. That's something you can expect to hear more of in the fall as we talk more about our strategic plan as well. But those dispositions that are in there, in the portrait of a learner, those were embedded in our virtual plan as well. So registration information. So you can pre-register now. And I know for a lot of people that have reached out to me, they're kind of leaning that way, but they want more information. That's why we're dedicated to getting more information out. Again, August 10th, everything will be done, but as other pieces become available, they will be on the Blueprint webpage. After the August 10th event, you have until August 18th to sign up. Again, some of the emails have asked if we could push that date back. There's no chance, unfortunately, we can push that date back. August 18th already makes it literally almost impossible for the buildings to get their schedules done because they won't know how many students or sections they're going to have, and they'll need to staff all at the last second. Comparable, if you look around Oakland County or throughout the state of Michigan, we've got the longest extended opportunity for parents to sign up into the summer than anyone. And then we'll also have an orientation date in August so that everyone has a chance to understand any additional moving pieces or any small changes that have been made and ask additional questions. So special education. We've had the opportunity to really spend time looking at special education during this time. And I know we haven't brought it up until now, but I will share a couple pieces. One, for those of you that are considering virtual, please understand that we have special education student or teachers working on that curriculum as well. So special education program and services are going to be available from birth until age 26 through the virtual academy. Students in the virtual academy will receive services from our Bloomfield Hills special education staff. Like I said, we have multiple special ed teachers who are working in collaboration with their general education colleagues to develop the virtual academy. Our expectation and anticipation is all IEPs and 504s will be followed as written. This includes accommodations, programs and services. And we also understand that some IEPs and 504s may need to be adjusted based on individual needs. Some of the safety measures that we're planning to utilize for face-to-face with special ed: reusable window masks for all special education staff. We're going with reusable window masks for all DHH students, a clear face shields for all staff in ARP, FRP, and Wing Lake, N95 masks for any staff working with students with nebulizers or oxygen. And we've been very fortunate. We have a vendor we're able to get, and there's 3 types of N95 masks. There's the KN95, there's the N95 that's foldable, which blocks 95% of the particles. And then there's the N95, which has the hard shell, which is the surgical mask, which is molded to your face, a little less comfortable, but that blocks 95% of the particles as well. Through one of our vendors, we're able to get all 3 of those masks to make sure we can protect everyone as much as possible. Washable and disposable gowns are available for staff who requested at Old Wing Lake. We have portable dividers for all ancillary staff. We have disposable masks will be available within each classroom. And these are all going to be individually wrapped. We made a decision as a team to make sure that we ordered ones that are individually wrapped so they didn't get spoiled. And it's a nominal fee more, but our concern was if the bag's open, are they all spoiled? Could COVID get into the bag if they're all open? How clean are the person's hands reaching in there? And do you really want someone reaching in, touching your mask, wherever it's at? And, it's all those things that run through your head when you're really concerned. So we went with the individual wrap ones. Gloves will be available in each setting. Sanitizing wipes and hand sanitizer will be available in each setting. So I'm pleased to understand we are committed to providing students with programs and services according to their IEPs while making the health and safety of all students and staff our #1 priority. Also, in early August, Jem Perone and I are going to hold an information session. We'll do that live at Facebook Live. If you watch any of the Facebook Live events before, they're great. It's a great way to get the message out. And we have quite a few questions from parents that have been submitted and that we're going to answer. We'll hopefully have the majority of answers ready and available, but we also know there's going to be questions that maybe we didn't foresee that are going to come up, and we'll have to get back to people on those as well. Personal protection equipment. So we've ordered reusable cloth masks, disposable masks, window masks, gloves, gowns, hand sanitizing supplies. We're exploring plexiglass for specific protective use throughout the high school, including K-5 dividers that can sit literally on top of the desk and provide a little additional protection, sanitizing wipes and face shields. So I know talking to the teachers earlier this week, one of their concerns was PPE. Do we have enough? Is there a supply? Is it back ordered? When is it going to come in? I'm happy to say that everything we've needed to purchase, we've been able to purchase up to this point. And then Brian Goby and his team made the decision after the governor came out with her plan with some of the guidance to really order quite a few additional items that fall under those different categories so that we would have everything ready before school open. We're also exploring outdoor options. I love both these pictures. So the picture to the right is actually from 1915. And in 1915, there was a heavy flu epidemic. So I'm not talking about 1918 in the pandemic. There was a flu epidemic in 1915 in New York. And one of the things they did in New York is they repurposed the ferries and made them classrooms. So what am I getting at? I'm getting at the idea that we need to explore outdoor options. So Brian Goby and his team and Tina Kosick have been working with vendors so that we can get 40 by 60 foot tents on all of our properties so that we can have that additional space. So if it's a little too sunny out, a slight rain, we have those outdoor options. Again, we know we can space better during and outside for class. We know that the opportunity for students to be outside can be just as engaging as inside. And so that is something we made the decision to move forward on. And so we'll be putting tents at all of our properties during the school year in the fall. K-8 virtual special elective instruction. Again, safe practice followed by best practice with a focus on core instruction. Is it ideal? No. Is it safer? Yes. So our opportunities, specialists are able to implement their full curriculum and facilitate a continuous learning design across the school year as students experienced previously. Specialists are also available to facilitate learning for students in the Bloomfield virtual campus. It allows us to have our large building spaces. We can recapture those large spaces, spread students out even more in the K-8 environment. Staff and student safety is prioritized by limiting the overall number of student contacts across the course of the week by specialists who serve entire building populations across the week, so that one teacher could have 400 plus student contacts in 1 week. Student travel across the building is reduced as recommended in the governor's plan. requires no additional staff allocation to implement. Another model we looked at required 5 additional staff members. Also keep in mind, it reduces the number of school day cleaning disinfecting requirements in specialist areas, freeing up custodial staff for additional COVID requirements across the building. One of the models we ran, we had to leave 20 minutes cleaning between classes for the teacher to clean the room, and that cut into overall core instruction. So what are the challenges? Challenges are students experience an instructional day with only classroom outdoor learning space as opposed to full use of the building. Again, how do we create that smaller cohort? How do we make sure we have safe practice followed by best practice? And the later school start times may create a challenge for some families. So let's look at a proposed schedule. So K through 5, 9:05 to 10:05 allocated for student specials. That part would be asynchronous. Classroom teacher prep time. 10:05 to 10:15, students arrive for the delayed in-person instruction start time. Teachers are in the room. 10:15 to 3:55, instruction will focus on core content, lunch and recess. Google Meet with specialist teachers. So classroom teachers have 60 minutes of professional preparation time per day, or 300 minutes per week. That would be moved to the beginning of the day. Students would not utilize lockers and/or coat rooms unless necessary, and they would be spaced out apart. Students would be required to report directly to the classroom upon arrival. No commingling with different cohorts. Again, is it ideal? No. Is it safer? Yes. Resource and outdoor opportunities will be scheduled for needed breaks. Our social emotional learning lessons are part of each school day. Classroom teachers would eat lunch with students, and paraprofessionals supervise classrooms for teacher lunch break for 35 minutes, already is a standard practice. Specialist teachers would document attendance for asynchronous virtual classes, and specialist teachers would also facilitate a 15 to 20 minute live Google Meet each day during the school year to maintain that teacher-student connection. So elementary classrooms remain in the classrooms. However, this could be a time where coverage could be provided as needed. Again, trying to limit movement based on the governor's plan and try to mitigate where we can. So if you have a kindergartner, what does it look like? As a parent, always, what does it look like for my kid? So a kindergartner would have art on Monday, music on Tuesday, Spanish on Wednesday, PE on Thursday, and then media on Friday. And you can see for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, a DHH, FRP, or ARP student. So I'll leave that up for a minute so you can find the student that is in your grade level. Another option we looked at was having a 10-week rotation. So for a kindergartner, instead of having something different every day, you might have art for 10 weeks straight and just continue to do that. And part of that rotation we looked at had to have that additional 20 minutes of cleaning time after each class left, and then it required students to spend additional time traveling. 6 through 8 proposed schedule, 8:20 to 9:20 allocated for student specials. That part would be asynchronous, so your student can watch it before they came to school. Student can watch it the night before, the morning of. 9:20 to 9:30, students arrive for the delayed in-person instruction start time. Teachers are in the room. 9:30 to 3:10, instruction with a focus on core content, lunch and recess, Google Meet with special teachers. So 6 through 8, classroom teachers have 90 minutes of prep team plan per day, 450 minutes per week. So they would have 60 minutes before school and then 30 minutes during the day when the specialist teachers do back-to-back Google Meets. Students will not utilize lockers and/or coat rooms unless necessary, and these will be spaced apart. Students will be required to report directly to classrooms. Again, safety first. Classroom teachers would not have morning duties. Students would eat lunch in the classrooms with paraprofessionals and/or spaced appropriately in other areas. Again, we've now recaptured large areas in the building that if we needed to have students get their lunch and eat there, we could social distance. Elected teachers will provide a Google Meet for each grade level for 15 to 20 minutes. This would happen twice a day, ideally back-to-back to be counted as prep team plan time for block teachers. Coverage will be provided by paras or a building substitute. Specialist teachers would document attendance for each special for pupil accounting. So one of the first things I would ask after seeing this proposal K through 5 or 6 through 8 as a parent, if we're going to have a delayed in-person instruction time, how much time is my student losing in the core instruction area? What I can say is that the amount of core instruction time that would be given pre-COVID is exactly the same amount of time your student will be given under this plan. They do not lose even 1 minute of instruction time when it comes to core. Actually, with the 10-week plan, we were losing some instruction time in the core area because we had to have the 20 minutes of cleaning time, because that's how long it will take as students travel between different classes to go to specials. So looking at 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, DHH, FRP, and ARP. So 6th grade, your A day block would be world language, physical education. You would have that every other day. Your B block would be art, music, design, tech, drama, health, and foods. And that would be a 10-week rotation. I'll leave it up for a minute so you can find your child and see where your child would be and what they would be doing, and then I'll move on. Thank you. One of my favorite quotes from Helen Keller: alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. Sure. Thank you.